Welcome back to CVM Live. It's now time for our major stories. I'm Richard Chen, and I'm here with Pauline Millwood. The General Secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party, Dr. Horace Chang, is declaring that a report by the Office of the Contractor General into last year's flood mitigation and drain cleaning program has not found any corruption in the program. Dr. Chang says the administration is glad that the OCG has cleared up a lot of misinformation which was spread about what many called the debushing program. He notes that the report revealed that more PNP-held communities were cleaned than JLP communities by a margin of 506 to 425. However, the People's National Party says the debushing program, managed by Ministers Darrell Vaz and Everald Warmington, both of whom operate out of the office of the Prime Minister, together with Ministers Robert Montague, Andrew Wheatley and Shahini Robinson, used facilitators as agents or third parties to receive funds and to pay laborers. This was clearly, as the OCG report described, a corruption-enabling mechanism. PNP General Secretary Julian Robinson spoke to CVM Live earlier about this.
On Wednesday night, the House of Representatives passed the Special Crime Zones Bill after several amendments which found favour with some members of the opposition. It was a fiery debate in Parliament last evening. Here is CVM Live's Nika Lewis.
A government rushing to pass the controversial anti-crime bill, which, according to the administration, will tackle crime in a resolute fashion once and for all. That is the hope, but the administration, looking to take the fight against crime to the full force, had to battle in Parliament with opposition members who shared countless objections to the contents of the bill. The opposition, pointing to how they are impacted by crime in their respective constituencies, questioned the powers given to the Prime Minister, who has responsibility for the zones of special operation, as well as the Army, insisting the desired results may not be achieved.
The question that arises then is not whether or not we need the kind of legislative powers that are being provided here, but the question is whether the powers and the processes as contained in this bill are the most effective.
But the Attorney General stood in defense of the government, dismissing what she called mischievous statements being made by the opposition, citing ignorance on their part. The Attorney General went through almost clause by clause, identifying the facts as contained in the bill.
It is said that we are abrogating basic rights. It is not true. It is really not true. When you abrogate a right, you put an end to it, you abolish it. There is absolutely nothing in this bill that is ending any of the fundamentally guaranteed rights and freedom. So let's just put that to rest. All right? Nothing in it, whether short-term, long-term, or otherwise.
For his part, Prime Minister Holness, in pointing to the murder rate, further explained what was to be expected.
The police, the military, and MOCA will have their operational duties. They do their operations, they plan it. The job of the government is to create the framework, the legal framework in which they can operate, hold them accountable afterwards.
Critically, the government officials argued that the necessary changes will be made and promised that reviews will be done. Mr. Holness told Parliament that they have been working on plans to secure Jamaica, and crime is just one element of it. Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
Although the bill got the nod in the lower house, members of the opposition People's National Party are still unconvinced that the Zones of Special Operations bill will be an effective tool in ridding certain communities of criminal elements.
About the potential impact of the legislation to effectively stifle crime.
It's one thing to go in and contain the violence that's taking place, displace the gangs. But unless there is some long-term investment in the social services, improving the infrastructure, improving the housing stock, preventing raw sewage from running on the streets, providing social services to the unattached youth, training, employment, play areas for the kids, green areas in some of these inner city communities. This is the sort of longer term investment that is needed, and it's really, quite frankly, can't be achieved within a 60-day period or even a 6-month period.
Following the submission of a minority report to the Joint Select Committee of Parliament, which listed 18 amendments, the opposition was able to force concessions from the government, some of which were outlined by opposition spokesman on national security, Peter Bunting.
The Prime Minister and the political directorate or construct of the National Security Council would no longer select the geographic areas that would become the zones of special operations. Instead, they would operate on the basis of approving a recommendation from the heads of the security forces, the Commissioner of Police and the Chief of Defence Staff.
Mr. Bunting pointed to another major amendment regarding the appeal mechanism afforded to those caught within the zones of special operation.
The appeal mechanism where persons who may find themselves detained or have their property confiscated or held for some undetermined period of time now have an appeal mechanism to a lay magistrate, a justice of the peace who is also trained to sit as a lay magistrate, who can essentially provide an appeal mechanism, and we thought this was an important safeguard.
Joel Crosskill, CVM Live.
And moving now to the public transport sector, bus operators are being warned that the Traffic and Highway Division will be taking a zero-tolerance approach to breaches of the rules governing the sector, including the use of sound systems in public passenger vehicles. Here is CVM Live's Joel Crosskill.
The clampdown on errant bus operators by members of the Traffic and Highway Division continued today, with the seizure of a bus which operates the downtown to Waterhouse route, this time for noise nuisance.
All the television news that has been happening and us being out there in terms of creating greater order, you never pay any attention to it. It look like odd name, something look like a brand new, something recently put in.
I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yes.
This bus, I wanted to do my business and do buy and selling, right? Alright. What happened is that I had a friend of mine introduced to the bus system, and he said, no, I can get road license.
Yes.
All of this, to tell you the truth, I don't know nothing about the bus thing. And to tell you the truth, is one of this was up on the road. I've been on the road working for not even 2 weeks, and its pay problem is one of the worst investment I could have ever had.
Head of the Traffic and Highway Division, SSP Calvin Allen, explained why sound systems are not permitted in public passenger vehicles.
What we are doing here is something worthy to be done. You believe so? All right, I am happy you do. Because when we have our women and children have to traverse in this vehicle with that sort of a music thing blaring inside, and sometimes it's not just only the volume, but it's the content. You need to realize for your own self, seriously, you need to realize that if you want to be a crucial part of the service industry, it has to be done orderly.
SSP Allen suggested that if bus owners intend to keep their buses in operation, they must become familiar with the laws which guide the sector and become regularized. Following counsel from the lawmen, the bus owner expressed a willingness to do just that. Joel Crosskill, CVM Live.
Tonight, CVM Live reporter Nika Lewis takes a look at a recent episode captured on phone which involved a potentially explosive confrontation between police and citizens in Trelawney. Police later reported that sometime during the confrontation, one of their colleagues was bitten on the ear.
This scene was captured just outside a work site in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney, near the Royalton Hotel this week. The information is unclear, but from the chaos, one onlooker sought to give a synopsis.
Police box a girl just because the girl don't want him to search her bag. Tell me now. No work to the site, mash up.
It is also understood that a police constable was bitten several times by a female who allegedly fought the officer. A closer look at the development shows an officer brandishing his service pistol as tensions flared. Residents threw stones at the officers, who by this were heading back into the service vehicle to leave the scene. Scores of concerned onlookers were also seen capturing the ordeal on their mobile devices. It is unclear as to the severity of the officers' injuries or what may have occurred with the alleged female attacker. Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
Right, still to come on CVM Live. Special Zones Bill, now a reality. That will form our discussion segment.
Also coming up, editorial with businessman Hugh Graham tackling the issue of gun amnesty.
But straight ahead in our major news, more on the passing of the Special Zones Bill.
The OCG report shunned by opposition.
And policeman bitten by female. We'll tell you more about that in that story. These stories and others later on.